Good afternoon, students. So, welcome back to our online sessions. So, in today's class, we are going to discuss the optical fiber communications, the emerging technology of optical fiber communications, and where actually the optical fiber communication is going to be used, and the basic definitions of optical fibers, all the kind of concepts we are going to cover in today's class. So, before proceeding with that, so let's take an overview of what we discussed in the previous class. In the previous class, we talk about the refraction, we talk about total internal reflection, we talk about how the lights can be entered from one particular medium to the another medium. Based upon that, we are going to find out. So students, so this is about refraction. We already covered it. So refraction, what actually the definition of refraction? Refraction is a change in direction of light when it's go from a material of different density. So when we are passing from incident light from another medium, when we are going for the denser medium, when we are passing a light from one medium to another medium, what we have seen? We have seen that as instead of going directly, it's what it did actually, it come towards the normal, right? So this is what refraction from one medium to another medium. If something light is entering, then it is called refraction. Likewise, if you go for from denser medium to the rarer medium, if it's coming back from downside to the upper side, it will come away from the normal, right? So this basics you should know. And total internal reflection, as we covered already, and we have seen the ray diagrams as well. And now in today's class, we are going to see the emerging technology of optical fiber. Just a brief discussion about that. Then we are going to see how the optical fiber is going to made. So we see that optical fibers can be made by considering the three things. What are the three things? First thing is what? Making, perform, glass cylinder, drawing the fiber from the perform, testing the fiber. So these are the three methods, three kind of steps we can say, which we use to design the optical fiber kind of communication, right? So this is just a basic we do have. Next concept, why the optical fiber is emerging in technology. The reason is that optical fibers nowadays is used to communicate. As I said, the optical fibers are used to find out the higher bytes of data. So whenever we had byte of data rate is increasing, so optical fibers are being used from last so many years, like from 30-40 years, it's being used and it is getting emerged. So as you can see here, just a plotting of the graph is there from the number of years and the usage of optical fiber. So from there, as you can see here, I have taken an example of terabytes. Like, so when we talk about from olden days, we used to get the bits. Bits are on what actually? It's nothing but the combination of zeros and ones. Then we proceed with the bytes. Bytes is nothing but combination of 8 bits is consist of 1 byte. Likewise, we met with the kilobytes. Kilobytes is what? 1024 bytes. Then we go for megabytes. Megabytes is nothing but 1024 kilobytes. Like this, gigabytes is 1024 megabytes. Like that, we do have till terabytes. So starting from bit to bytes, byte to kilobyte, kilobyte to megabyte, megabyte to gigabyte, then terabytes. So likewise, when the kind of bits are increasing and the usage of that number of bits also increase. So I have taken an example over here with single fiber capacity. When we use a single, we have seen, right students? So we have seen single fiber and we have used multiple fibers also. So when we see a single fiber concepts, when we are going to find out the single fiber capacity, which is in the form of gigabits per second. So one we are considering with the gigabits per second, and on the x-axis we are taking number of years. So when we take both the values on a particular graph, we come to a conclusion that in the year 1983, when it started the kind of fiber concept, so when we see the only 135 MB is enough. When it's moving ahead with the capacity of your single fiber capacity, in 1985 you can see it's become double, more than double, right? So 565 MB used to use by the single fiber. So as you can see, when in 1987 it is 1.7 GB, the gigabytes we had, right? So single fiber use this much of gigabytes, the capacity increases. Likewise, when we see 1991, it is what? OC 48 means octave 48. It's been increased. Likewise, it keep on increasing. When we see 1991, we can say that the terabytes is what? 1400 terabytes. That is more than that. It is increasing. The graph is increasing, right? So because of that reason, we can say that the optical fibers are emerging technology in order to communicate the kind of wired communications or the designing of that particular phenomena. Clear? So because of these reasons, we can say that the optical fibers are increasing day by day. Likewise, I need to explain you the kind of communication system, right? Our main concern is regarding the communication system. How do we design the optical fiber communication system and why it is useful in our communicating with a wired communication. So the reason is that, as you can see here, I use an information source from one end. Here is my information source is there, and I used to pass that information source to electrical source. Why electrical source? Because our devices is made up of electrical parts, right? It is RLC components, resistor, inductor, capacitor, or power stations, everything. Whatever we see, we need to have some sort of passage of electricity. So we are passing the information to the electrical source. Then where it is going from electrical source, we are using the optical source. What is the optical source? Optical source is used to convert that electrical source into the optical wires we are using, right? Optical source are what? We have seen the designing of it, right? Physical form of it, source. We are having the core, ladder, and the physical outer layer. So these three things comprises of optical sources, and we are passing to the cable, right? So from that we are passing from where we are going for the detectors. Detectors, what is the use of detectors? You may have seen in communication some different types of detectors, right? Mu law, A law detectors we have seen when we talk about DC communication, where we have seen different types of detectors which is going to detect that kind of information. Then again, this is what actually this is still here, it is transmitting. We are transmitting, right? All our sources. This is our system, communication system. Then we need to move. We need to move to the electrical receiver. Receiver means from transmitter it is coming back to the receiver and our destination. Wherever the destination is there, it is going to be moved with that particular destination. So this is what actually this is our kind of communication system of optical fiber. Clear? So this is what complete optical fiber communication systems we do have, and in this particular systems only we are going to follow. We are going to use that kind of communication system. So this is just an example of your optical fiber communication system. So this it's look like in this way. So these steps you may note it down. It can be useful for you to understand the chapter. All we are dealing with this communication system only. From unit 1 to unit 5, we are concerned with how do we use the information source, and from where we are getting the electrical source, and how we are going to find out the optical source, and from there we are proceeding with optical fiber cables. There onwards, the detectors we use electrical receivers, then the receiving end, that is nothing but the destination part. So this complete communication system is considered to be the optical fiber communication system. Clear? So this complete part we are going to see from unit 1 to unit 2. Sorry, unit 5. So now first part, what is the information source? As I already said, information source are what actually? It provides electrical signal to transmitter comprising an electrical stage. Means what? We are passing us information to till electrical stage. What is electrical stage? The next stage. Whatever the information we are using, electrical source is there, right? So this is what till there, whatever the information we are passing, that is called as information source. And what is the use of transmitter? It transmits the signal, right? So where it is transmit? It derive actually an optical source to give and modulated of the light wave carrier. So where it is take electrical emitters, electrical transmitters. See, from information it is passing to the optical source. Who we are doing that one? That is doing by the electrical source. Clear? So that's the reason I have mentioned over here. Electrical transmitter derive an optical source to give a modulation. Modulated means what? Message signal superimposed with the carrier signal. In order to get a desired information, we know, right? Modulation and demodulation. So modulation means we take a message, lower signal. Message signal is what? Lower frequency signal. We are superimposing. We are combining with the carrier signal in order to get a desired information. So in order to get that, we are going to consider the electrical transmitter. Likewise, the next concept what we do have is optical source. What is the use of optical source, students? So optical source are used for, it provides the electrical optical conversion. Conversion means what we see, right? Single source and multi-source. Single source are what? Lasers. Multi-source are what? LEDs. So lasers and LEDs, when we talk about it, we are going to see that particular. So optical source are what? It provides electrical optical conversions that require semiconductors of laser or LEDs, right? Lasers are what? It is a single source, right? We have seen they are optical fibers are two types. One is single, another is multiple. So when we see single, it is what? Laser, single source of light. When we see the multiple source of light, it is LEDs, right? These two concepts are used in optical sources. These are nothing but the optical sources which actually take the information from electrical transmitter to provide the information to the optical cable. Means input is electrical transmitter, output is optical cable. As you can see in the diagram as well, right? So when we see the diagram, in particular diagram, we can see that. See over here, what I can see here, optical source taking the information from electrical source, passing the information to the optical fiber cable. So this is the way this has been used. So likewise, we do have next concept, The next stage is what? Optical cable. What is the use of optical cable? It serves as a transmission medium. Transmission means medium is what? It provide like a medium. When we talk something, air is our medium. That's the reason we can able to hear the kind of volume whatever we are just transmitting. Same way in the optical cables, optical cable is a medium when we try to transfer our information. Clear? Likewise, we do have a next part in our communication system of optical fiber is nothing but optical detectors. So what is actually this optical detectors is all about? Optical detectors are the responsible for the optical to electrical conversions of data. Like we have seen in your DSP classes, in your previous classes, we have seen A to D converter, D to A converters, right? A to D converter, what it does, take analog input and try to convert into digital output. D to A converters, it will take digital input and try to convert into analog output. So likewise, we do have optical detectors which are responsible for the conversion of optical to the electrical signal data, right? What are the data we are using? Optical data. We have to try to convert into electrical data. That can be done by using optical detectors. So likewise, what are the optical detectors? It can be used. It can be designed by using photodiodes. It can be designed by using phototransistor. It can be designed by using photoconductors. So by using all these things, it can be used the optical detectors. Likewise, we do have electrical receivers. What is the use of electrical receivers? It needs to receive a signal, right? So when we want to pass a signal from our where actually we are using a receiving, right? So whatever information we pass from there, we are going to receive that particular information. So it is used for electrical interfacing at the receiver end of optical link and perform the signal processing, right? This is like a receiver. What it does, it try to receive the signal. So it is receiving, right? So that's the reason we say that it is used for electrical interfacing at the receiver end of the optical link and perform the signal processing electrically, because our signals are electrical, right? So whatever information we are passing, that information needs to be reached out to the receiving end. So we have passed from optical, then to the electrical, then to the optical kind of cables, then optical detectors. Now we are moving ahead with electrical receivers. So till we receive it, but whatever the information I have sent from the sender, it needs to reach to the destination, right? From source to destination. So now destination, what are the destination part? It is the final point at which we receive the information in the form of electrical signal. So at the electrical signals, whatever the information we are passing, that can be passed with the help of this particular stage that is called destination stage. So next concept, students, our next concept is advantages of optical fiber communication. So what are the, before proceeding with any kind of concepts everywhere, we should know what is the aim of learning that particular concept. So the aim is to get the desired concept. If you know the concept, then if you know the advantages, disadvantages, then application, it will become easy for you to understand that particular subject. So whenever you learn anything, you should know why it is benefit for us, where it is actually it is will be useful for us, where actually we are going to use that particular concept, and because of that all the factors, if you know it, then the subject become easy for you and you can easily correlate with your physical part. That's the reason I'm just explaining you the advantages of it, disadvantages, and the application. So advantages of optical fiber communications is what? It is actually life of fiber is longer than the copper wire. So copper wires will be just used very frequently, and when we use that copper wire, it cannot be used for a longer period of time. Whereas the optical fibers, when they compare with copper wire, is used for a little bit longer when we compare it with the copper wire. But it also had not that much, we cannot use for whole life, right? But still we can use it for longer period of time. Likewise, the handling and installation cost of optical fiber is very nominal. So means the kind of concept, the kind of cost we compare with other kind of cables and all, optical fibers are quite nominal, and it is unaffected with the AM waves, right? Our main concept is EM, right? If you see in antenna and wave propagation, EM waves are kind of dangerous and kind of what we consider it is going to give a hazardous disaster kind of thing to our health, and it's not that much good for our health, right? Whereas the optical fibers is not that much unaffected with EM interface. If EM wave is also used, it's not going to get that much of kind of affected with that particular part. Likewise, the attenuation optical fiber is lower than the coaxial cable or twisted pair. So if you see other kind of cables, attenuation is little bit less. What is attenuation means, students? The stopping, the barriers for the communication, that is called attenuators. And There is no necessity of additional equipment for protection against grounding and voltage problems. There is no problem with voltage and there is no problem with ground. So they are saying there is no necessity of additional equipments. We don't no need of putting additional equipment for if suddenly voltage will get off, if the voltage is fluctuating or if it is not in a proper way, then it is not going to affect that particular equipment. There is no need of putting an extra one, right? Something if you want to use a refrigerator, if you television, we put a stabilizer, right? So that the equipment should not get damaged. Whereas in optical fibers, we are not going to use any kind of additional equipment so as to put a proper, if there is a problem with voltage or grounding, there is no need for further kind of devices. Similarly, it does not radiate energy. Any antenna or detectors cannot detect it, hence provide signal security. So the main concept in the communication is that they must be a secure. They should not have a kind of hacking, or they should not have whatever the information I'm sending to the particular receiver. In between that, they should not get hacked, right? So that's the reason you say that it does not radiate energy like any antenna or detector cannot detect it, hence provides signal security. So because of that, this is also quite useful in our communication system. Clear? These are advantages of optical fiber. If people note down these all points in order to get the clear idea. Similarly, disadvantages. Obviously, when we do have certain advantages, so they might have a disadvantages as well. So first disadvantage is what? The one who's handling, there should be a highly skilled staff. This is required to get the maintenance of it. Means people should be aware of all kind of concept. Then only they can able to handle it. Second, only point-to-point working is possible on optical fiber. We cannot use a hubs, right? So we can only use a point-to-point communication. That's the kind of disadvantages for us. Only a specific center can be taken, and a specific receiver can receive it. Then precise and costly instruments would be required. So there should be a very precision and there should be a costly instruments. The kind of costly instruments is required for the kind of maintenance of it. The cost if underutilized. If the costly, we need to particularly utilize that one. The costly, we need to put it. We cannot use kind of costly, highly costly kind of instrument. We cannot put in that way. Likewise, it accepts unipolar coded only. So means a single kind of coding part can be useful. It should not provide a bipolar or multipolar codings, right? So jointing of fibers and splicing is also time consuming. So when we joint a particular part and when we use to find out the slicers kind of thing, it takes a lot of time to get into it. So these are the disadvantages of optical fiber. So next thing what I am going to explain you about it, where actually this application part is going to be used. So as I already said, in everywhere nowadays this is being used. Starting from telecommunication, space application, broadband application, computer application, industrial application, even in the mining, in medicines, in military application, everywhere now the optical fibers are emerging like anything. As compared to other kind of cables, the optical fibers are quite easy. Like lasers we use, right? Laser for kind of cancer detection, cancer kind of treatment, everything. The lasers are useful. So this is also one of the type of it, right? So same thing. LEDs also we are using in everywhere. So as you see, the example over here I gave in pictures. Optical fibers have wide range of application in most all the fields. In medicines, you see, reductions and everything. Just now I said, right? In the military also, as you can see in the picture, you can get the clarity of it. See, this is the way the person who's doing the kind of operation of that particular person, he using a laser kind of beam, is passing over there and is trying to detect that what actually the problem with that. Even in the military, to detect the kind of what is the target and everything, they are putting this optical fiber cables. Even in electronics, we're using in IBM microprocessors. So whatever the IBM nowadays microprocessor has been designed, if you see from Pentium 4, quad core, everything, you can able to see that this particular optical fibers are being used in even in the endoscopes. Endoscope means when we see the R signal. Suppose there are two optical fibers we are putting, one for the light to illuminate the inside of the patient, another we are putting a camera to send image back to the doctor. When we put something, as you can see here, the image is being sent and the surgery is keep on doing it. So first we put a camera and another we put a light so that we can able to see what is going on inside it. This is called endoscopy. So this is being used. So these are what keyholes for it. And what is the conclusion, student? What we have learned till now? We can conclude that Optical fiber communications as look and how they work and how they are made and properties of fibers and applications. We can conclude that this required complete aspects we need to understand where actually we are lying and how we need to be skilled to get the optical fiber industries to be work. Okay, so these are the things in today's class we covered: application, advantages, disadvantages, working, and everything. So this introductory part of unit 1 we have covered. Okay, the next class we will see further working and everything in the upcoming session. Thank you. Maintain the notes and try to write the running notes. It will be useful for you.